And you just never know when this show's going to start, do you? What can I tell you? All right, we ready?
Ready?
You and me, kid. All right, here we go.
Hello? Are you ready? Then we'll begin.
And then there were two. Okay, so we're a little short on people tonight, but we're not short on anything to say. So here we are with Monday Morning Catholic, episode number 33.
Wow.
6:30 Monday morning. I'm here hiding in my bed. A song plays on my alarm clock as I cover up my head. Somewhere in the distance.
And there's no extra charge for sound effects during the opening. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another crazy edition already of Monday Morning Catholic. I'm your host and moderator, Joanne Mercier, Director of Religious Education for Saints Martha and Mary Parish in Lakeville, Massachusetts. And as I said in the beginning, there's just two of us. Along with me for the ride tonight is Linda Reed, Director of Music and Liturgy for St. Thomas Parish in Providence, Rhode Island. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning. Did you like the sound of my telephone ringing?
It was interesting, let me tell you. I didn't have you muted either, so like I had done last week. 33 episodes, and I think that's one of the reactions that you had over 33 episodes. I'm still learning how to use this stuff. So when I get to 233 episodes, if I'm still...
We'll have it down by then.
Then we got to really think about it. But
yeah.
So how was your weekend, Linda?
It was very busy. It was really good. Been very busy.
Did you, now we were talking because even though I'm in a new parish now, it's a wonderful thing to have a job. Thank you very much.
Yay!
I wasn't there this weekend, so I was back at the home parish, St. Thomas. So that with two of us doing the show,
yes,
leaves us with hearing the exact same homily this week.
Exactly, yes.
But,
and it was the missionary to boot.
Yes, it was a missionary. So if you want to add insult to injury.
Yes.
But he was a very nice missionary.
He was a lovely man. Yes, he was.
I understand him well,
yes.
Which is always good for a missionary.
Yes.
But never fear. I went into our electronic vault to see who was doing things this weekend. And of course, I will try to remember what I heard from Father Robert Barron. Word on fire for this week. So we'll have at least two.
Yes.
Have at least two. But you got to understand, we do this with our friends and with other folks that we've been trying to invite along for the ride. And some weeks it's feast, and
some weeks it's not.
You just got to go with it.
I know.
Sometimes you feel like, sometimes you don't.
So there you go. But we gather here each week to take a look, as usual, at the previous weekend's liturgies and try to make some sense. As always, I have been giving points, so it really don't matter. So here we go. But grab the cup of your favorite beverage and join us. And yes, we've already gone off the rails, so we've gotten that over with. So I have a feeling we should probably just go right into the lovely first part of our show, which is...
Do you hear what I hear?
Do you hear what I hear? We all hear the same readings, and I don't know what you thought of this morning's lecture, but...
This morning I heard the readings beautifully proclaimed.
Yeah, it's because I was subbing for her husband. And that's all right. I didn't mind at all.
No. That was great.
And that was a cheap way to get, It's a cheap way to get applause.
Yay!
What can I tell you? But this week's readings were some were continuations, some were not. So the first reading that we all heard this weekend, unless you were in a parish that was doing a feast or a rite, like our CIA welcoming rite, for example, you would have heard 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 5, and then 7 through 12, which is the account of Solomon. And Solomon's prayer, God asks Solomon, what would you like now that you're king?
Mm-hmm.
And he asks for wisdom. Smart man.
Smart man. Yep.
Man. I don't know if I would have asked for wisdom, but I do ask for it now.
I ask for it every day. So I'm assuming if God came down and asked me what I would want, I would continue to ask for wisdom. At least that's what I would hope.
It took me a long time to just move in that direction about asking for wisdom. I would always ask for other things.
Yeah. Patience. I ask for patience a lot too.
Oh no, that's not a good thing. Never ask for patience, because then you get the trials.
Yes. Oh Lord, give me patience and give it to me now.
Exactly. And then the psalm for this weekend was 119. That was the common psalm.
Actually, the 119 was the prescribed psalm.
Right.
But I did the common psalm 19, which is almost identical. Really, I read them both, and I thought it's the middle of July. It's almost the end of July. It's just me up there, cantor. So let's just do a psalm that everybody knows and knows really, really well.
The thing with 119 is that it is the longest psalm in the book of Psalms.
Yes.
And it goes all over the place. And I guess if you read it in the original Hebrew, it's every letter of the Hebrew alphabet.
It's an acrostic, It starts with the first letter. Yep. The first verse starts with the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and then it goes down.
Yep.
The full alphabet.
Right. So no one can ever do 119 in one sitting.
Yeah.
It takes a while.
The verses that they chose for this week were just so close to so close to Psalm 19 that I just thought, why reinvent the wheel in the middle of July,
And most assemblies know a good version or two of 19.
Yeah.
So it's worth it to do 19.
So I did the common psalm this week, and it was as close to the proper psalm as you're going to get.
And that's fine, because it was along the same lines.
Yeah.
And if you do it for a couple of weeks, then better. Romans 8 is a continuation on our second reading, and we're still not, next week is going to be the verses. I said it was last week.
God is for us.
I'm waiting for the God is for us.
Yes.
That is my life verse. So for those of you who don't know what that is, some traditions encourage people to have a life verse, something that is very identifiable, very applicable, something that you can use, something that you can meditate on over and over again. That it happens to be 8:31 to I think it's 37 or 30. God is for us, who can separate us from the love of God. That is mine.
There you go.
That has always been mine. 28, however, is the one that I got quoted at so much when I was at the lovely non-denominational Protestant Bible College.
Uh-huh.
I was so happy I did not have to read it this morning. All things work for the good for those who love God.
Yes, yes.
Anytime somebody had a trial in their life, I heard, all things work for good. And I have a good friend who I went to college with, and when the two of us hear that, we run for cover. And we're good Christian women.
That's right.
Cover, because we heard it in 4 years so many times.
Yes.
It was like, can you think, sometimes, yes, I understand that, but, it's not always applicable when there's a big trial happening.
Yeah.
Well, you really need to, no, you don't. Let's go to the Psalms.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's.
I'm angry. I want to find the psalm that
Yes.
says to bash the heads of my
Yeah.
enemies against the rock. That's how I'm feeling right about now.
Exactly. Exactly. I
Which
had a I
that
had a
is,
friend who is now deceased who used to love that whole portion of the Psalms.
is
He's
that 86 or 88?
let's find one of those Psalms talking about bashing their heads against the rocks.
Yeah, smote my enemies, Lord. It
Yes,
can
smote
be
my enemies.
that. I mean, and it's fine. It's human emotion.
Sure it is.
Okay, but understanding that, and this is part of what Father Barron is saying this week, and I'll say it at this point, was that even though you have that, all things were, it's so that you can understand that when the bad things happen, that that they can be used towards the good, that they're not just bad things that happen to you and God lets it happen.
Yeah, yeah.
That there's a reason and a purpose, and when he explains it that way, I go, okay, fine.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
with that. But hearing it as and it's still a late impressionable teen, you're sitting there going, oh, come on.
Yeah,
Sounds
really.
like a cop out.
Really?
And I want to go bash those enemies' babies' heads against rocks.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Matthew 13, we're continuing with the threesome parables, and it was nice to hear all three this week.
That's right.
Did you do that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Because the pastor wasn't there. I said, you know what? The long version's not that long, Al. That's our deacon.
No, and the thing about it is that you got to hear the treasure in the field, the pearl of great price, and the net.
And the net.
They all mean.
And the weeping and the gnashing of teeth.
Okay. Well, I didn't get what I did not hear that. Sorry.
Oh, that was the weeping and the grinding of teeth. We get to hear that too. So.
We got to hear, and everybody went, "Oh, we didn't have to read that."
Yeah.
But all of this, well, because people don't understand that somebody would give up everything to buy a treasure in a field or purchase that pearl. And again, we hear about the net thrown into the sea where you're going to get the good and the bad together, and then you're going to sort them out.
Right.
We have to keep hearing this because it's part of how I believe one ministers in the kingdom.
Well, yeah, it falls in with last week's parable of the weeds and the wheat, because here's the big net, and you got good fish, and you got jellyfish and eels and all kinds of unattractive things, and so just like the weeds and the wheat, God lets them all come together, but then come harvest time, we're getting rid of some stuff.
Yep. And it's interesting, harvest time can be different points in life where things have to be sorted out.
Yes.
And we have many harvest times in our life where we have to sort between the weeds and the
wheat. Yeah.
Yep. So I will let you go first since you heard it 3 times and I only heard it once.
I know, but there's really not much that the good father, his name was Father Alvin, and he was a lovely man. He's from Boston, and he was soliciting funds for their orphanage / school for what used to be orphans and now is for any child who can go in Guatemala. And he just kind of gave a glancing blow to the readings, mostly about wisdom. That Solomon had the forethought and the virtue to ask for wisdom to govern this people. But the bulk of his homily was a description of the work of the Franciscans, and because he is a Franciscan, and it was short and sweet. So he really didn't have much to say to any kind of breaking open of the readings.
Yeah, which I was really hoping he could weave like
Yeah.
the net in the sea type of thing. I thought that might help him out, and he didn't.
Well, I think somebody said to me once, that missionaries have realized, or at least some missionaries have realized, that the shorter they preach, the more comes in their collection.
Oh, gee,
So
really?
that's
Seriously?
big tongue in cheek. So I just happened to hear that one year. But he was altogether lovely person, a lovely celebrant, nice,
Yeah.
clean. He did not sing the doxology, which is neither here nor there. But he was just a lovely man and lovely to work with. So I'm going to have to leave it to you and Father Barron, Joanne.
And let's see how much I remember.
Yeah. Actually, I listened to a little bit of Father Barron too, just because Father Austin is still on vacation.
Yes, thank you, Father Austin, for still being on vacation, because
And
you could have really
I would,
used your homily this weekend.
I wanted to hear something on the readings, so I listened to Father Barron too.
Yeah, and he used most of wisdom.
Yeah.
The fact that of all of the things that Solomon could have asked for, he asked for wisdom, and rightly so, because he was a man of young age. And it was interesting that he wove in the pop culture of
Yeah.
I want to say quite a few decades.
Yes.
All of these young stars or young athletes that get all of the world's attention and greatness and riches and all of that early on, and then burn out so badly because
Yeah, they don't know what to do with it.
yeah, because they don't have the wisdom to know what to do with what they have.
Yeah.
And I found that striking because I think there are a lot of people, I think, all of us, went to college, we knew what we wanted to do, we got on the road, and why didn't it work out the way we wanted it to? Okay? And I think why, in a lot of cases, is because we weren't ready for it.
Yeah.
And if we did get some stuff and then later on it went away, then were we ever ready for it? Did we burn it out? And I'll be very honest, because for people who've known me for a very, very long time, they first encountered me as a singer.
Mm.
And when I lost my voice in the late 90s, it was devastating to me because at the same time I was saying, I want to be known for more than this, because that's what everybody wanted me for. I didn't want to lose it. I wanted it all. Okay? I wanted the whole thing. And I didn't get the whole thing. It was almost a choice.
Yeah.
So it was, and it's not that I can't sing it all, but it's never to the level, it can never ever be to the level that it was, and I just won't sing in public. And that has been a big, it's an up and down thing, which is why I think I'm so wedded to the verse that's coming next week in Romans. That no matter what happens, at least I cannot be separated from the love of God.
Exactly.
And no matter what's happened in my life, no matter what trials have showed up, I've never blamed God for it. I've never blamed God for anything that's come along. I've never had that. That was never instilled in me.
No, me neither. And it's unusual because it's sometimes very prevalent in the Italian culture.
And in the Portuguese as well. We think something happens, God got you for that. It's like
it was not evidently in my mother's or father's makeup. That was not passed on to me either.
It was in my mom's, God rest her soul, but it never stuck on me. For some reason, it never stuck on me. I never thought that God was doing this. that I was probably doing it more than God was.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I
but
was always more willing to take the blame myself.
yeah, that's why I'm not one that ever prayed for wisdom in the,
Yeah.
I prayed for many other things for a long time. Now I pray for wisdom.
Yes.
It's really interesting because when I was actually proclaiming this today, I was like, yeah, good thing you do this now because it makes more sense. Now at least because now I know what to do with things. I mean, I'm walking into a parish that's going to change its religious education blueprint.
Mm.
And I almost want to go in and say, yes, I am your human target. But I do it with knowing that I'm not going to please everybody.
Yeah.
Will hate.
And that's hard. No matter how you slice it,
Right.
That's hard. Because
Yeah.
we all want everybody to like us.
Yeah, but you know what? At least I know it going in. And I'm
Yes.
going to face it.
Yes. You know it going in, but it's never really easy to accept.
No, and I'm not going to, I'm not going to Pollyanna on the whole thing.
Yeah.
But
it's never easy to accept. It's like, the death of someone close to you.
Right.
You know that it might be the best thing because they're not suffering anymore, and yet it's so hard to accept.
I know, and you and I both know that recently.
Yes.
So we get that. So that's why I pray for the wisdom.
Yes.
To know what to do in the situations when they come up. It's the girl in me who wants to just say, this is for your own good. I've got to say, this is, we're going to try to work on this together. And I mean it.
Yeah.
It's not words. I mean it. But that's the kind of thing where when you go into the parables the last couple of weeks, and talking about the net and talking about the weeds and the wheat. Yeah, you got to let these things all go together, and then you got to separate them. And this is the parish, the collaborative decided to do the same thing across all three parishes as far as religious education. I think it's a smart idea.
Sure.
And it's one of those things where they want to be united, and
Mm-hmm.
I had the experience in how to do it.
There you go. You're the perfect person.
Yeah, hopefully. All things work for good for God. I could do it in about 3 different translation versions too.
That's okay.
Do that one. But Father Barron uncovered, he went on a lot about the, the whole thing about being ready, praying for the wisdom, knowing how to use it, and then going in. Then he went into he did a wonderful job by explaining again with the Romans. I said a little bit earlier that that doesn't mean that if you love God, you're going to skate through life.
Yeah.
Like nothing's going to happen to you.
No.
No, you're just going to realize that whatever it is, God is there.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. These readings were a lot. At least the first reading was a lot better than last week's.
Yeah. Yes.
I felt
well,
so
the first
bad.
reading was a story, more or less, and
Yeah.
that always grabs you,
Yeah, it wasn't like a chunk. And to be fair, this is where I've always said when I've taught Bible before, when I've talked to lectors, when you get a reading like that, you really need to read 5 verses before and 5 verses after.
That's my husband who's in charge of our lectors. That's his big thing.
Yeah.
Just don't take this little chunk. Try to understand what has come before and where it's going after.
Yeah, because that chunk was horrible last week.
Yeah, it was.
That first reading from Wisdom was tough.
A toughie. But this week, at least it was a story,
Right. And I think we have, correct me if I'm wrong, 1 more week of parables.
Yeah, we have. I just did the music for next week.
And you should know this.
I know, I should know this at the top of my head. But I was all confused. There's too much stuff rattling around in my head right now because I went to a biblical conference this afternoon.
There you go. All right, hold on. I can tell you what I can. Let me see if I can pull it up
check
quickly.
it out.
See if I can pull it up quickly for next week. It's all these lovely apps that I have.
Yes.
And next week, because I believe it's
August 3rd. I think it's the
No, it isn't.
It's the multiplication of the isn't it bread?
Nah, next week. I'm just gonna do it quick because I don't want to give it away too much. Yeah, you're right.
It's the bread. It's the bread.
Loaves. Yep, it's loaves and fishes.
Loaves and fishes.
Yep. And the second reading is definitely my life verse.
There you go.
Life verses. So there you go. We got that much. But there are some weeks are feast and some weeks are famine, just like our show. So
Yeah.
there was all the readings sort of harmonized more than previous weeks.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. We want more of what you're thinking about there in podcast land, and we keep imploring you.
Yes.
Send us feedback. My friends who do podcasts and have been doing them for many more years than me all say the same thing. When they get feedback from folks, it boosts their creativity.
Yeah.
Their own podcast, because there's more of an interaction, and that's what we're doing here. We don't want to be talking heads. We don't want to talk amongst ourselves and have you listen in. We want you to tune in on this.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
We're trying to get you to do this. It's just like trying to participate at Mass now, isn't it?
If you're sitting out there listening to this and you're saying, why didn't they talk about this?
Right.
Then, it doesn't do us any good unless you get online or get on the line and tell us about it.
Exactly. So we would love to hear from you in written or audio form.
Yes.
So please, Monday morning, you can put it in the comment box on the episode, this week's episode, mondaymorningcatholic.net. You can send us an email at mondaymorningcatholic@gmail.com. You can put it on the Facebook page like Kathleen did a couple of weeks ago, facebook.com/mondaymorningcatholic, or you can call the lovely feedback line. And I promise, if you don't want us to use the actual audio, just say it.
Yeah.
Please don't use the audio, but here's my feedback. 774-955-0659. Okay? Any one of those methods. And we will put it into we'll put it into Do You Hear What I Hear, but we'll do it before we go on to, we'll say last week we had some feedback and here's what people had to say. Please help us out.
Yeah.
33 episodes, we've entertained, evoked, we have been silly fools for Christ. Please get in on this.
We've interviewed people for you.
Yes, we've interviewed people. I've had a bishop show up, okay? Just come on, gang. Get in the mix with us here. All right? And send us some feedback so we can get a discussion going. Do it on the Facebook page during the week if
That's easy, yeah.
Because then we can report on that later. So there's many different ways we can do this. We're trying to make it as easy as possible. Okay? And share us with your friends. We have 59 likes right now on the Facebook page. I'd like to get up to 70.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, could we pick up a few more likes? Send it to your friends. Get them to like us. Send them we've got quite a few subscribers who are definitely getting this when I post it. Okay? Get us a few more. Let's get this rolling so that we can do it, because the best thing we can do is to discuss these things, apply them to our lives, share that application with others. That's what we're trying to do in the new evangelization.
That's right.
Because believe me, I got other things I could do on a Sunday night too.
Yeah.
Or a Monday morning when I'm trying to push the button on my way out the door to work.
Yeah.
So and put it up on the internet. So please, folks, okay? Thank you. Shameless plug is over.
There we go.
Let's move on to our rituals and liturgy section known as the right stuff. Okay, we put up a couple of, I had a field day this week. I found a lot of different things on Facebook that I thought were applicable to our folks here at Monday Morning Catholic. The first one was an article on instruments in worship. Okay, and I guess this was a discussion. And I'm going to pull it up because I have it here. In Theologues, the blog Theologues, by Billy Kangas. And it's 8 reasons instruments are important to worship, because I guess they had a discussion from another contributor by the name of Austin Manis, who wrote a piece encouraging people to consider worshiping without instruments. Now, our Catholic tradition has included both.
Yes.
And we do have a lot of discussion over this. And I thought his 8 reasons were pretty good. Linda, you had read this.
Yes, I did. I read this because I thought it was an interesting concept. There's a lot of things that he talks about. A lot of the 8 things, as a matter of fact, one of them was so overlapping that I only got 7 things. But a lot of the 8 things that he talks about kind of overlap, but not. Like the first one is not something that you think about all the time, but the first one is to invite the stuff of the cosmos to praise. So it's not only human beings praising, but it's the instruments which are made of the stuff of the cosmos that God created. So, your clarinet that's made out of whatever it's made out of. Your guitar that's made out of wood.
Cheap plastic.
Yeah, your organ that's made out of whatever they make organs out of, wood and plastic on the keys and stuff like that. It's inviting the stuff of the cosmos. Okay, yeah. It's something you rarely think about, but sure, why not? Let's bring it in. I think it's kind of like Psalm 150, let everything that has breath or not praise the Lord.
There you go.
And the second one, creativity and praise. Well, yeah, all right. The use of the voices of various instruments gives you a little creative boost rather than just hearing the voice. And he does, right at the beginning, say that he agrees with the fact that the voice is preeminent in worship. But he goes on to also defend the use of instruments in these 8 ways. And one of them is broadening the creativity of our offerings of praise. More forms of beauty. Again, there's some things that a violin can do that our voices can't do, There's things, that a harp or a keyboard or any stringed instrument can do that our voices can't do to help us raise our minds to God. The fourth one is great, biblical testimony. They talk in various places.
Bible.
And he gave a long list of citations of biblical passages, a lot of them from the Psalms, that talk about the use of instruments, right from fall of the walls of Jericho with the blowing of the horns, to, again, praise him with strings and reeds and cymbals and all the rest of that in Psalm 150. There's a grounding for the use of instruments in the scriptures. Okay. God may also be making use of the work of our hands. Okay. So who made the instruments? Well, we actually fashioned them in whatever form we do.
I really want to know who created the double bassoon.
Yeah, really.
That's quite an instrument.
Yes. Some of them are real works of something.
Oh yeah.
But God is using our own, the works of our hands, and we are using the works of our hands, much in the manner of Cain and Abel, who offered the work of their hands to the Lord. That we use the work of our hands in the fashioning of these instruments and in the playing of these instruments. God gave us, our hands to do whatever it is we need to do.
And we are both musicians who use our hands.
Yes.
With
See my calluses. No.
The arthritis in the fingers and getting
Yes. And then there's always enculturation. That seems to be the big buzzword these days. But sometimes the use of various instruments that are so intimately connected with a culture will enhance the praise of those particular people. I'm thinking like the Italians love mandolins. They're big into mandolins. So but why not?
I thought they liked accordions better.
I thought it was the Polish people that liked accordions.
Okay, they're the ones who live. Yeah, okay.
The polkas, yes. Although my sister did take accordion lessons. And this last note that I have here, it says, I don't even understand this one, so maybe you can help, Joanne.
Okay.
Help people to express themselves authentically. Well, I think I can express myself authentically with using my voice. But, for someone, say for someone who cannot sing, but who plays a gorgeous trumpet or clarinet, perhaps it helps them express themselves authentically.
Yeah, I would agree with that because I was trained as a classical vocalist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that doesn't mean when I got my degree in music, I had to take string class and horn class, and I had to take all the different classes in the instruments. I also had to take a secondary instrument, which was both piano and organ.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't as good at those as I was at singing.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my voice. It was funny how the fingers all of a sudden got a lot better.
Yeah, sure.
Piano. So at least being able to play piano or organ gives me a chance to still be viable.
Yes.
Making music in the church.
Yes.
Okay. So I can speak to that. If
yes.
something my fingers now I'm in trouble.
Ah.
But I think it's one of those things where God provides. I couldn't do that anymore, but He still wanted me to do something.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there you go.
And a lot of people, because they knew me as a singer, don't realize that I play. I've gone to parishes to sub, and all of a sudden, what do you mean you play?
Yeah.
I played for years. And I had to learn as a choir director. Yeah. That was one of the things they taught us. We had to play the parts.
Yes.
People. You don't just wait for an accompanist to play it. You play it.
And I don't even play keyboard, but I can play parts.
Yeah. That was one of the things I was trained to do, was at least to learn how to play the parts.
Unless you happen to be a choir practice, in which case you can play the parts.
Then you make me play it, yeah, so thanks a lot. Isn't Julie coming back?
She said she was coming back.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, so check this out at theologs.com. I'll put it up on the honorable mention if you want to check this out or anything else they happen to have there, because they're a community, I believe, of, I almost want to say theologians and musicians.
Mm.
Or,
I don't know.
Combination of folks. I took a look at some of the other stuff that they had. Looks interesting. So if you're inclined, go check them out. Mm. I saw something come through from His Eminence Timothy Cardinal Dolan.
Yes.
From the Archdiocese of New York. His blog post last week was Boring Mass.
Yeah.
And we've all heard it. You've
all heard it. Yeah.
Heard it as a mom, I'm sure. I've heard it as a teacher. Mass is so boring. Why do I even have to go?
Yeah.
And then when they graduate from confirmation, they figure they never have to do that again.
Yeah.
And he really, in his style, which is very grand and large, which I love, he talks about, why people think things, that there are other things in life that are boring. Going to the dentist can be boring. Dialysis can be boring. He uses other things and say, boredom is our problem, not the masses' problem. Okay, and especially now, more so now, where we're so used to things in sound bites. Small things that keep our attention for this long. And I've even noticed it myself, where I used to read the paper. But when we gave up the paper in paper form, except for Sunday, which I covet and want my Sunday paper. And now we get it on the iPad. I find myself not interested. And I get most of my information where? Twitter. In 140 characters or less. If I want to read more about it, then I do. I click the link and I go. But this is our problem. We've created it ourselves, thinking that people can't spend long periods of time doing anything anymore. That it all has to be short, sweet, go on to the next thing. Short, go on to the next thing. Mass isn't like that. A good mass goes a good hour.
Yeah.
You can't sit down. You have to think that our Eastern brothers and sisters, they have it right. Their masses go 3 hours.
Yeah.
But no one's afraid there to get up and go to the bathroom if they have to.
Evidently, no one's afraid to go in the Western Rite either.
Well,
Judging from the procession to the bathroom.
But I will be honest. I do not see the procession at St. Thomas to be more so than we've seen at other.
No, not as. It's not quite as bad. It's gotten better, actually.
Oh, good.
It's gotten better.
Good.
There used to be a line. It was like when the homily was over, there used to be like a line at the bathroom, like the Creed and the Prayers of the Faithful were intermission,
Oh.
But I don't see that much anymore.
At least they weren't going during the homily.
Yeah. No, you see that too.
Oh, yeah. But the thing is that his point is that the boredom is our problem.
Yeah.
And then we don't go to mass to be entertained.
Yeah.
No, we don't. Okay? As much as music can be great, as much as the liturgy can be executed in the most precise manner, that's not the point. We don't want it done sloppy either.
No.
The point is that we're not there to be entertained, but to pray and worship, and that's what we're going for. And I don't think and I will say parents, I will say catechists, I will say even pastors, I don't think we communicate that well enough for people to understand anymore. We don't talk about it.
Yeah.
We get, and I'll probably get slings and arrows thrown at me, and the first time, but we don't say it because we're afraid if we do, they won't come anymore. We don't tell them that they're inappropriately dressed during the summer because they won't come anymore.
Yeah.
We do that kind of stuff. We won't tell them, no, you can't be doing that. You can't let your kid run around the church during Mass because they won't come anymore. And I think
in that case, we are falling down on our job.
Right.
Because how are they to learn?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But home is, the home life now is not like the home life that we had. I couldn't get up off the Sunday table without asking to be dismissed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You probably couldn't either.
Nope.
You dressed a certain way to go certain places.
That's
now
right.
you can dress any way you want to go anywhere.
Oh my goodness.
Jeans at weddings, folks.
Yes.
And not just the nice jeans.
Yeah.
No. So
I see, yeah. A person that does weddings and funerals regularly,
mm-hmm.
What you see is
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep. And it's the old WYSIWYG.
It's
Is what you get,
amazing.
you
You
know.
know, it's
But
you would never wear that. I would never dream of
mm,
wearing that in public. Never mind the church.
I know. And see, he really gets the point here when he says, the Mass is not about us, but it's about God.
It's about God, exactly.
Exactly. And what Jesus does always works and is never boring.
Yeah.
The Mass is not some tedious chore we do for God, but a miracle Jesus does with and for us.
Yay.
That's what's got to get communicated to folks, to get them to understand that, and that this, you go in reverence, you go in respect.
Yes. And part of that is doing the liturgy well.
Yes, it
Part
is.
of that is doing but not for entertainment purposes.
Right.
But for explication purposes, so that people can understand
Right.
that this is not about them, it's about God.
Right. And I know when I see assemblies that really participate and that really know, I know that they've had many, many years of consistent, communication, consistent preaching, consistent music, and it's been done well. They look healthy, they act healthy, and I can always tell when I go into a parish that hasn't had that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's scary.
Yeah.
You see really disinterested people. And it's scary. And maybe it wasn't one thing maybe it wasn't all those things bad at all the time. It could have been just one thing and then shifted to another. But we are the ones who have to change our mindset.
Yeah.
We can't go in with this is going to be boring. Because you know what happens when you go into anything with a negative mindset.
Yeah.
Negative.
That's it.
No matter how good it is, it's negative. So read that was one that really caught my eye. He's at cardinaldolan.org, and he blogs. He's got blogs. He's got homilies he puts up here. He's got a podcast because he has. I have Sirius Satellite in my car, so I get to listen to a conversation with Cardinal Dolan every week. And they put some of it up on his website. So check him out. He's another one who has some really good things to say and is very he's funny as all get out.
Yeah.
He is, but he says in that humor, he says a lot of what needs to be heard, and not a lot of people take too much offense. Some do, some don't, but he gets his point across. And
yes.
I really like him. So check him out if you get a chance. Okay, I'm going to skip the technology this week. Get right into what's the buzz, and what's the buzz in Catholics in the news and pop culture this week? Well, it's Pope Francis, Pope Francis, Pope Francis, and that's okay with me.
Yeah.
Being Jesuit trained, I'm happy. And I just keep saying, everybody says he's so wonderful. He's a Jesuit. Okay? They're just different. And two things we saw this week, past week, was Archbishop Chaput, I think, jumped the gun and said, Pope's coming to Philly.
Yeah.
15, and I said, where's the hotel room I'm going?
Yeah.
But now the Vatican's saying, well, we don't really publish that stuff until about 6 months before it happens, because I bet you there's a run on rooms.
Oh, I bet.
Because I'm serious. I have, I don't know why I didn't go see John Paul, because he came close enough to be able to be seen, because he was here in Boston, and I didn't go.
I didn't go because I have a problem with crowds and how long I'm going to have to stand up.
Well, yeah, that would be the case. Benedict didn't get this close up here, and I wasn't in the traveling mood, but I'm in a traveling mood to go see Pope Francis.
Yeah, and everybody would like to see Pope Francis.
I do want to go. I do want to go see him, but so we'll wait and see if he does show up for the Family Synod in September of 2015. I'm sure travel agents are, booking tours already, because it's been said. I don't be surprised. But the other surprising thing that he did this week was Pope Francis decided to grab his tray and have lunch at the Vatican cafeteria.
Yes.
I don't know why people think this is like, the news of the century. Okay?
Well, because popes don't do those kinds of things.
But
They have their meals brought to them on trays. They don't pick up trays and go through the cafeteria line.
And again, he's a Jesuit. I'm gonna keep harping that tune. He's a Jesuit. I would expect nothing less from him because they're used to being in community. Jesuits live in community. They're smaller communities now than when I was attending grad school.
Sure.
But they still live in community, and that's what they're supposed to be doing. So I can understand why he lives at the Casa and why he goes and eats with the employees.
Yeah.
It just makes total sense to me. Now, it's a little disarming for folks because, it's the Pope and he's sitting there and his wife, if he's having Italian spaghetti,
Yeah.
But, wouldn't you want your boss, seriously,
Yeah.
to sit with you at lunch? I know I love it when the pastors that I've worked for would sit down to lunch with me.
Yeah.
Or we'd go out for lunch or something like that. To me, that tells me you're interested in me and what I'm doing, and you want to know more about me outside of what you see, the results of, or not see the results of. And I think it's a great thing. And
it's modeling Jesus' table ministry.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to be done over a meal. There's a lot to be said over a meal that wouldn't get said in an office.
Yeah. There's one thing about when you have a meeting with somebody in your office or anywhere else, there's always the who's sitting at what point in the table.
Yep.
Starting the meeting, and there's usually an agenda. And I've always found that if I wanted to get something done or my point across or cajole somebody into doing something for me, I take them to lunch.
Take them to lunch, that's right.
Because we all know there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Yeah.
But taking them to lunch, sitting down, breaking bread.
Yes.
You get to know the heart of people. And
Jesus knew this, and, the wisest among us know it too.
Mm-hmm. So I see nothing wrong or astonishing the fact that he wanted to sit down with the pharmacy workers and see how they're doing.
Yeah.
What they're doing. I mean, he's in charge of all this stuff at the Vatican. Now, it's not that he needs to know every single thing, but be nice to know what some people do.
Sure.
Oh, you do that for us.
Yes.
Okay. It's not like they're sitting there going, "Hey, Pope, can you give me a raise or something?"
Yeah.
They're not doing that, and and he's not. I just find the mainstream media so fun.
Yeah.
When they start, and when it becomes 6:30 news on the national news, Pope Francis today. It's like,
yes.
Are you kidding me? The man had lunch. Okay, fine. When I go have lunch, you got to put the camera on me.
No.
Come on, folks.
It's where he had lunch and the circumstances that he had lunch.
I know. So that's what Pope Francis. I love that he's always in the news, in the mainstream media. I hope something good eventually comes from it.
No, I think that's evangelization in itself.
Yeah.
And the media is doing it unwittingly, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
no, they are. They're doing
evangelization in itself.
Mm-hmm. They are.
Rather than this Pope being this, remote, huge figure locked up in an ivory tower, he's in the cafeteria having lunch with everybody else.
And we're glad that they're doing that for us. What I wish they were doing, and this is not something that I had on our show notes, but I think it's something that we need to tell our listeners and our viewers about, if they haven't seen it anywhere, is that, yes, there's a lot of stuff going on in the Middle East right now.
Mm.
Yes, Palestine and Israel are at it, but there's a lot worse going on in Iraq.
Mm.
You know, they're destroying 1,000-year-old shrines that
Yeah.
are important to all the religions. And they destroyed this week, I believe, the tomb of Jonah
Yes.
and the tomb of Daniel.
Daniel. Yeah.
We're talking, you know those names because they're in the Bible.
Yep.
And they've had these monuments or tombs, whatever, to these men for thousands of centuries. And this Islamic State is just coming in and not only getting rid of all the Christians in the area, but they're destroying all these things.
Yeah.
I see no good coming from this.
I saw a terrible thing, a photograph of this symbol
Yeah.
that you're seeing everywhere now.
As they're what is it? The Muslim.
I don't know what it is, but it's a symbol that they're using to mark the houses of the Christians, and all I could think of was Nazi Germany.
Yep.
They marked the Jewish homes
Yep.
with the Star of David, or they made the Jewish people wear the Star of David,
Yep.
and now they're doing the same thing to the Christians there.
What
It's
scares me.
Scary.
What scares me is that old adage: those who do not learn from history
Yes.
are bound to repeat it.
Yes.
And I am unnerved
Yeah.
by that fear. And if you don't think that things like that can happen in the good old US of A,
You
think again,
Yeah.
because we are not immune to any of this. We have our own little Christian problems going on here because we stand up for certain issues.
Yeah.
All right? So we're not wearing anything yet, but don't be surprised.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say, that doesn't mean I'm a doom person that has, a bomb shelter in my backyard and 20 years worth of food and a bunch of guns. Okay? That has nothing to do with it. I just see, I read the Bible. I see the signs of the times. We're living in some scary times.
Scary times, yes.
Right now, it's not that we haven't seen this in history before. We have. But
that's what's scary. We have seen
it's even scarier. We've seen it before and we haven't learned.
No.
Yikes. So please, if you've got some spare prayers this week, folks, just because it's happening in Iraq or in the Middle East doesn't mean it won't happen in Nebraska.
Yeah.
Or Maine or Arizona, or Alaska. So think about this. We're not immune from any of this. And the more we pray and bring it to people's attention, which I'm surprised mainstream media isn't even talking about it.
No. Because it's okay in the mainstream media, it's okay to dump on Christians.
Yep, it is. So why would that be important? It's more important that we talk about how many bombs are hitting Israel or the Pope's having lunch in the cafeteria.
Yeah, well.
This is important. So please, folks, please hold this up in prayer. I believe anything is possible with the power of prayer, so please. Please, these people are fleeing. They don't know where to go. They're leaving everything behind, or some of them are getting killed.
Yeah.
Just because they're Christian. And that gives me something to think about. Would I stand up? Would I have that kind of courage to stand up or leave my home, because I'm a Christian? It's just as easy to say, "Oop, well, I'm not going to say that."
Yeah.
Don't think it can't happen. Let's, that was so boring. That was so darn negative, but hey. So let's have some big fun. All right, let's move into the last part of our podcast today, big fun. It's where we get to talk about anything we want, and I have to talk about it. And she's already laughing because you didn't.
I have nothing to contribute because I didn't go.
But the thing is that this isn't something that I had on our normal Facebook page. This was on my own personal Facebook page. that I saw what I would consider a bucket list concert this week, and no, it wasn't Matt Maher or any kind of Christian music. It was, believe it or not, and hold on to your hats, folks.
Mamma mia, mamma mia. Mamma mia, let me go.
I saw Queen in concert. And if you don't know this song, you haven't been living. Okay, now everybody is kind of run off the podcast because I'm playing devil music. But let me explain something. Yes, I'm a real person. I have real likes and dislikes. I have liked the group Queen since they came out in the 70s. They were part of my high school and college experience, along with John Denver, Elton John, Barry Manilow, and a few other people. Okay? When Freddie Mercury, their very extremely flamboyant lead singer, passed away in 91, I never thought I would get to see Queen in concert ever, because I figured I missed my chance. That was it. Then on American Idol a few years ago, a young chap by the name of Adam Lambert did Bohemian Rhapsody, and everybody just went, boy, he's good. And he, for I guess their finale, also sang, because the mentors that year had been Roger Taylor and Brian May from Queen. So shoot over to 2011, and they've asked him to front for one concert somewhere that got such good reviews that shoot forward to 2014, they decided to go on tour. And I said, okay, this may be my only chance, because, you know, these guys are, Brian May's 67 and Roger Taylor's 65. They ain't getting any younger. So I figured, all right, I'll put my money out and I'll go see it. And if nothing else, I've at least seen two of the guys from Queen. It was, hands down, the best concert I have ever seen, and that includes Manilow.
Hooray!
And I am, I have to take my doses of heavy metal kind of in short spurts, but I think one of the reasons I liked Queen was because they were never a totally heavy metal band. I mean, you've got something like Bohemian Rhapsody, then you've got them doing something like Crazy Little Thing Called Love, then you've got something, you know, they've got songs that people don't know about that sound so unlike a heavy rock metal band. Okay, and because they're British, they have a much bigger breadth of I think the Brits have always had a much more eclectic creativity when it comes to music. Just look at the Beatles.
Yeah.
They ran a gamut. So Queen is also the same way. And Brian May is actually a doctorate in astrophysics.
Oh, jeez.
So he's intelligent too. But I watched that man and listened to that man shred a guitar for 20 minutes. That's not normally my forte, but I was amazed at what he could do with it harmonically. You know, it was such a great concert. The kid is younger, he's not Freddie, but he's got a much better voice, total package voice. He doesn't have the showmanship yet of Freddie Mercury, but who would? But it was hands down just the way they put it together. They tried to include a song from every album. They did things that people would know, some things only us real Queen fans would know over the years. It was the best concert I'd ever been to.
Yay!
And I walked out and I said, why can't church be like that?
Yeah.
Or you think I'm being sacrilegious, folks, hear me out. It's that you're sitting in a room full of people, okay, 15,000 of them, and they all know the words to Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
And they all know the words to Crazy Little Thing Called Love, and they all know the words to We Will Rock You. And I see participation, and I see people, young parents brought their kids, grandparents brought their grandchildren to this. And people were getting involved, and it's that kind of spirit that I would love to bottle and put into churches, you know, for the worship of God, because that would be great. I mean, it was wonderful that we were having this event, and these very creative men were, you know, showing their God-given talents to the rest of us. But now what we need, if we could bottle that and put it in church.
Yeah.
Imagine
And
what-
people are trying to do that with the big mega churches and their big bands and lights
see that there's where the rub is.
and
You
it's
don't-
not working.
No, because you don't want it to be a concert and
That's
you don't want
it.
it to be entertainment.
Yep.
It's the spirit that I'm trying to bottle, not
Yes.
the actual what's going on, not the prescription of you should do this, this, and this. We don't need lasers in church, and we don't need smoke machines, and we don't need.
Well, that's some people think we do. That's
No,
some people's,
No, we don't.
no, we don't.
But
I'm saying some people think that that's the answer.
right, but it's again. I don't think there was one person going to that concert that thought they would be bored.
No, I'm sure.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Going back to Cardinal Dolan's, they went because they thought it would be a good experience.
Sure.
Okay, and I will admit there were people there who were there to see Adam Lambert. There were also people there who were there to see Queen. They may not have been mutually exclusive. Okay, but I think each one walked away with saying, like I walked away with, no one can replace Freddie Mercury, but boy, the kid was good.
Yeah, sure.
Other people were like, well, we like Adam Lambert, but the old guys really showed us, that they're, because the biggest thing I was talking about with the people I went with was performers today can't do that.
Yeah.
They rely on backing tracks, they rely on dancers, they rely on smoke and mirrors, basically, because their voice is so auto-tuned that they think.
Yeah.
And these are real people making mistakes. Not every vocal was perfect from any of them. I'm sure there were bum notes and wrong beats, but but in the experience, you let it go.
Yeah. Sure.
And it's the same thing in liturgy. There might be things that go wrong. There might be, not everybody's perfect. The homily may not be great this week, but you're there because you want to be there. You're there because you want to pray and you want to worship. And so, you know what I mean? It's that kind of mindset that I just want to translate.
Yep.
And I know it's a stretch for some people, and some people are saying, okay, Joanne, you've just gone off the end. But, those...
Actually, speaking of going off the end, it's about time for me to go off the end.
Ew!
Ooh.
You're telling me that, because I didn't think we'd have enough content today.
Oh, are you kidding, Joanne? You and me.
I know, true. Very true.
Never a shortage.
So, best concert ever. I can't say go see them because that was one of the last concerts. They may come back. Who knows? If that's your cup of tea, that'd be great. If not, find somebody else that you really like and go see them, because concert experiences, everybody should go to at least one or two.
Yeah.
Lifetime to get that understanding of what happens when a whole bunch of people get together and have a common goal or a common like, and maybe we can translate it better. I don't know. Anyway, so y'all know what to do. You're going to send us feedback this week, right?
Yeah. Feedback.
Okay. MondayMorningCatholic.net, MondayMorningCatholic@gmail.com, Facebook.com, Monday Morning Catholic. I'm not going to play it. The voice feedback line, 774-955-0659. Linda, it was fun. And
we held up our end.
Yeah, we held up our end very well. Next week, I don't know what we'll do.
Next week, we'll see what's happening.
Yes, we'll see who shows up and what happens.
Yeah.
But thank you, Linda. Thank you all for being with us. Please pray for those folks out in the Middle East. They really need it. And hopefully we will see you all next week. So thank you. God bless. And ciao for now.
Bye-bye.